And welcome in. Welcome back to the Husker Nation podcast, but not really the Husker Nation podcast anymore, but it kind of is for at least one more show. Yes, I'm confusing you. Everybody knows me that listens to this channel. You see my face, but of course, you see a second face that you don't normally see on this screen, and that is the one, the only, the legend. I found him. He is a Nebraska broadcasting veteran, legend of sports talk. My very good friend, Mr. Tom Stevens, is here today. Tom, thank you so much
Hey,
for doing this.
I appreciate it. This is going to be fun. We're only doing one Husker podcast. Is that it?
Well,
Is that what you just said?
we haven't even decided what the hell we're really doing.
In
But
life, in
yeah,
general.
exactly. That's why we're doing this right now. But to you guys, you people listening, tuning in here on this podcast, what Tom and I have talked here recently, and what we would like to do, hopefully, here in the very near future, is to start focusing on some of the interesting stories and the interesting people that create those stories here in Nebraska. And that's why I say that we're kind of transitioning from the Husker Nation podcast, because I don't think we're going to come on here every day and talk about the Nebraska offensive line.
No,
And if the
that would
volleyball
be
team,
painful.
yeah,
That would be painful.
if
It
the
is
volleyball,
painful.
it
Just
is,
mentioning the Nebraska offensive line is painful. Like my
yes,
head is just welling. It's about to
I can,
explode
I
right
can
now.
see it. Actually, I can see it. You need to,
Yeah.
yeah, take a breath. But anyway, no, what we would like to do is bring you some people, people from the state of Nebraska that have very, very interesting stories that maybe you have heard, maybe you haven't heard. Maybe we can tell them to you if you have heard them from a little bit different angle. So that's what we hope the future of this is going to be. I think we have settled on we're going to entitle it Nebraska Gems with
Mhm.
Tom and Dave, and we're going to try and take that moving forward. But as of now, just till we get started here and get a little more into what we're doing, we thought we'd come on here, the Husker Nation podcast, and talk a little bit of sports as we transition into our future projects with hopefully bringing you some great guests and some interesting people. So, having said that, Tom, it was a decent weekend for sports. Um, the golf tournament's on right now. I do not have a television down here in this studio.
Are you a little disappointed with the names on
Oh
that
yeah,
list?
of course.
I
And
mean,
you know,
I
yeah.
had to look some of them up. I mean,
And
I know Leary is a guy that like I can't even pronounce some of the guys on the leaderboard, but
yeah,
it was a little disjointed. You had lots of rain. You didn't even get in Friday's round, and so they had to. Some guys had to play like 36 holes in a day, and other guys didn't. I'm always skeptical about the winners coming out of that. You were hitting on 17, of course, a legendary hole at TPC at Sawgrass. I saw Justin Thomas hit a 6-iron from 134 and landed
that's
perfect.
insane.
I mean, some guys were hitting 8 and 9 irons and were 20 yards short into the water. I think there were 50 balls in the water.
Yeah, I
Over
think
the
that's right.
weekend.
Yeah,
It was crazy. It's a hard course anyway, but it's almost playing unreasonably hard at times. I think down that stretch, I think you've got 17, but 16 has been playing hard. 14 has always played hard. 17 is really difficult. 18 was over par. So I actually enjoy that in golf, but it was crazy hard this week. But I am looking forward to watching today after we get done with this podcast.
yeah, I think so. I think, and as you can tell, everybody right now, Tom used to take a lot of crap at his old job at 93.7 The Ticket for wanting to talk golf.
Yeah,
Tom and I'll talk golf any damn time we want because this
damn
is our
right.
podcast and we love golf. That's what we do. We love to play golf. We love to watch golf. So yes, you will get golf talk from time to time here. In fact, we might even have a couple of golf guests join us as we make our
Oh, I
transition.
love that. We talked about the
Nebraska
Husker.
Gems.
the Nebraska Gems podcast. Jim White is
Yep.
one that I would definitely like to have on this podcast. One of maybe not the best golfer in state history, but he's pretty close and certainly a legend. So,
he's absolutely a legend. That's exactly who I was thinking about as I think towards the future here of our Nebraska Gems. Jim White has played on these stages in U.S. Opens. He's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest teachers of the golf swing I've ever seen. And I know you personally have worked with him, and he's amazing.
I've taken lessons from him and Greg Johannesson, who's also really good. He's into the regripping business these days. He still teaches, but he regrips golf clubs. And his contention is that when a lot of these guys regrip golf clubs, they change the weight of the club. And the weight of the club is designed really for your swing. And it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So he's done it for a lot of tour players. The guy is really a genius in what he does in the regripping business, which you wouldn't think would be that big of a business, but it's huge for him.
Wow. And see, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. That I'm the biggest golf fan in the state of Nebraska next to Tom. I've known Jim for a lot of years, and I had no idea that that's what was going on right now. So we got to get guys like him in here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
where we starting?
Well, this is supposedly the greatest weekend, right? Greatest week of the year coming up. March Madness, of course, is what we're talking about. We all got our brackets yesterday. The big reveal show. We watched it. So I want to touch on, Tom, I just want to get your thoughts on what you saw coming out of these regions, where the seedings are. But I'm going to be real honest with you about something. I've been a Nebraska basketball fan for 47 years. We're never in this thing.
Well, they haven't been since 2014. We remember No Sit Sunday and Tim Miles, the greatest point of the Tim Miles era. I was actually in Hawaii watching it on.
That's right. You were
at that
your
time.
honeymoon.
This No Sit Sunday, and of course, it hasn't happened since then. Nebraska, the final Power 5 team that's never won an NCAA tournament game. I mean, it was Northwestern and Nebraska for the longest time. Northwestern finally broke through, and obviously, we're talking about Fred Hoiberg, and Nebraska basketball, and still not making it 3 years in. Despite being one of the highest paid coaches in Division I basketball, certainly top 20, and his buyout is ridiculous. A lot of people were surprised that he is coming back. But the NCAA tournament without Nebraska, but with Creighton happens again.
God,
of course. But you look at this and it should be fun. You mentioned it's one of the greatest spectacles in sports. I actually like these championship weeks as well.
Yeah, I do too. I actually do too.
I think that's a lot of fun because you get consecutive days and guys have a chance to, go 4 or 5 consecutive days. And, the Virginia Tech story was nice, beating Duke yesterday. Yeah. That was, or I should say on Saturday, that was really cool to see that. So you get the good stories there as well. And the play-in games that happen this week, that'll be fun. But quite honestly, I think the first 2 days are the best days. And after that, you usually get, the Arizonas, the Kentuckys, the Kansases, which you probably will again this year. I think Arizona is the best team in this tournament. I like the Zags. We'll see where they are. And they're certainly very good. But I think Arizona is the team for me right now.
Yeah, I think so too. My theory's always been the same when it comes to Gonzaga. I get it. They're heads and shoulders above the teams they play against in the conference, and they have real guys, and they deserve to be a number 1 seed. But I still contend that schedule that they play in that weaker conference does not prepare them for big-time games. No. Now, we got to a championship game. I understand that. But I just think consistently year in and year out, it just makes me nervous. So I think Arizona is the team that I like as well. When you look at this, Tom, do you you've had to cover Nebraska basketball for so many years leading up to this tournament. Are the conference tournaments, is that when you start like paying attention to teams nationally, or have you been kind of doing it throughout the season just because, you've been covering Nebraska, but we focus so much on Nebraska? When do you start paying attention to these other teams that have legitimate chances to win this tournament?
I think I'm like everybody. I mean, how often do you really watch Pac-12 basketball?
Never.
I mean, we're talking about Arizona being the best team of the tournament. Do you really watch them night in and night out?
I watched them play this last week.
Walton? What?
No, I watched them play this last week.
Yeah, that's
the first
right.
time
You're
I've
right.
seen them.
Yeah,
Yep.
And you understand how good they are. But I'm with you. I probably start. I watch the big games. I mean, everybody wants to see North Carolina Duke, and it was kind of funny to see Coach K go out as a loser on his home court. That was a weird scene. Obviously before even championship week happened, that happened. But yeah, you're right. I think I start to pay attention to college basketball during championship week. And then, of course, you get the big time matchups like Carolina Duke, or if you want to check out Wisconsin Purdue on a given night on BTN. And then I watch Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
I quite honestly haven't watched a lot of Kansas basketball this year.
I haven't either. I try to avoid it.
I know they're a number one seed, and I'm looking forward to, Kansas versus Creighton in round number 2. I think Creighton's got a tough matchup in San Diego State in the first round. That's an 8-9 matchup, which we know just kind of like 5-12s are kind of coin flips.
I agree.
Creighton hasn't been in the tournament since 2018, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do back. That's a well-coached basketball team. I will say that. I don't like Creighton. I hate Creighton. I don't like the J-Screws at all.
We all hate them.
But they're a well-coached, fundamentally sound.
Well, we want to be them.
And
I would like to be them.
Oh, I want to be them. I don't understand why Nebraska isn't there yet after 3 seasons under Fred Hoiberg.
Oh,
and
my
we
God.
can shift into that conversation right now. It's been frustrating that Fred Hoiberg, what's the record? he's 24-67 overall, 9-50 in the Big Ten.
3 straight consecutive 20-game losing season.
Right.
Do you remember when Fred was hired and you and I were talking and we were so friggin' happy? We finally had a real basketball coach. Nebraska was finally going to matter in basketball. Fred will get this turned around almost instantly. I could have never seen this happening. And I don't think they shot him back.
And let's face it, when Fred did it, in the early days at Iowa State, it was impressive. But he and Matt Abdelmassih, who that's Nebraska's lead recruiter and the highest paid assistant coach on this staff, they were one of the first to dip into the transfer market. And it became a thing in college basketball to the point where football, basketball, especially Power 5, if you're not getting at least a couple players in the transfer market every year, you are missing out.
Yes.
Developmental basketball is just really not quite the thing that it used to be. There's still teams like Wisconsin and Purdue that develop players, but they're still getting better players out of high school than Nebraska.
Yeah.
And the turnover, Nebraska can't find a point guard. Alonzo Burge finally developed into a decent point guard at the end of the year, but he, quite frankly, was horrible.
The last 10 games, right? 10 to 12 games, maybe.
And Cam Mack basically thrown off the team, and, he had some elements of being good. Delano Banton is in the NBA, or at least a developmental player within the drafted that way, but he was not a good point guard at Nebraska. No. They have not been able in 3 years to find a point guard, and guys coming in and out of the program. The first 2 years in particular. Now they had some more continuity this particular year, but it didn't lead to great success. They won more than 7 games, which is what all they did in the first 2. Yeah. Woohoo. But I, like you, I thought this is a home run hire. Fred Hoiberg is the man. Abdelmassih is a great recruiter. This is just a matter of time and not much time before Nebraska maybe takes the Big Ten. I was thinking like that.
I was too.
I thought at least a top 5 team in the Big Ten and certainly an NCAA tournament team by now.
That wasn't even a question, right? It was how many games are we going to win in the NCAA tournament? Can we get to Sweet 16s and Elite 8s? Getting to the tournament wasn't even a question in my mind. No. You're right about the point guard position. Delano Banton, for example, is playing. He's probably getting 12 to 15 minutes a night now for the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. And depending on injury, he's had games where he's played, 25, 26 minutes a night. Mm-hmm. He was not a good point guard here. So what do we do? I mean, we all know that. I was mad that they brought Fred back, but I get it. $18.5 million is a lot of money. Fred has a great agent because they'll still get 11 if we fire him next year. But what do we do? We have this great debate. We all talk about how wonderful the transfer portal is. However, when Nebraska has to go into the transfer portal every year and pull out a whole brand new team and a bunch of new guys, we criticize them for it because you got to have continuity. You got to have guys that have been together 3-4 years. And on the other hand, we got to go to the transfer portal and get good players. That's how you get good really quick. What's the answer?
Well, you've got to have some continuity, and you still got to dip into the transfer portal. I mean, I don't see a point guard on this roster. Ramel Lloyd, I think, is a good recruit, and he'll be coming in next year. That's a top 50 player from the high school ranks. But is he even close to Alonzo Verge, as an 18, 19-year-old? No. And Alonzo Verge, with all that experience, was a nightmare from, sometimes.
Yeah, he was.
He did end his career, or at least this year, as the leader in assists in the Big Ten. He got it under Nate Lenzer, who is we talk about the coaching staff, and maybe that's where we should start. Fred Hoiberg has to make some decisions similar to what Scott Frost did in this year. He brought in Mark Whipple. He brought in Mickey Joseph, which I think is a big deal. He brought in a new running backs coach and an offensive line coach. He made 4 changes on his staff. I think there've got to be at least a couple. Doc Sadler, it's probably time for him to move on, maybe an administrative role. But the big decision for Fred Hoiberg is, what do you do with Matt Abdelmassih? He's kind of in a bind with him.
Yeah, what the hell's going on? Do we know what's going on?
Well,
I know you know what's going on. I don't know how much you're comfortable talking about, but my point in even asking you the question is not to put you on the spot, but more like, don't we have to figure this out really friggin' quick?
Well, here's the problem with Matt Abdelmassih. You may not like, and the turnover has happened. Sometimes you promise things that you can't deliver. Hey, we're going to get you to the NBA. Hey, we're going to get you a now name, image, and likeness deal worth $150,000. And sometimes you promise those things and you can't deliver them. And so guys move on for different reasons. In most cases, it's playing time. But there's been, Bryce McGowan's is gone. He's projected to be probably the 30th pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, and let's just be clear right now for any of you Husker fans out there hoping that Bryce McGowan's is not coming back to this team. Okay, that is
probably should he?
No, hell no, he shouldn't. God no.
He did develop under Nate Lenzer, and again, that's that name you don't hear a lot. That's a guy I think will be back on this coaching staff. I think Derek Walker will come back.
That's fascinating because he's got to be like 25 years old.
Yeah. But with COVID, everybody's 30. I mean, everybody's going to collect Social Security in college basketball in a couple of years.
Yeah, Bohannon from Iowa just got his AARP card.
Yeah, exactly. That's where, and you got to have a few of those guys because everybody else does in college basketball. So you need Derek Walker, and he played some of his best basketball toward the end of the year. Bryce is gone. I wonder about Trey McGowan's, who probably should come back. He's your best defensive player on this team. Doesn't always make great decisions if you want him as a point guard. I'm not sure about that.
I don't think he's a point guard.
Lat Mayon could come back.
That's right. He could come back. Yes.
I'm not sure it's the best thing for him, but Nebraska could use him 10 minutes a game. Eduardo Andre probably back. Keon Edwards, I think probably gone.
Gone.
Keisei Tamanaga has got a decision to make. Wilhelm Breitenbach is coming back. They've got a kid named Blaze Keita coming in. 6'11", top JUCO center in the country. And here's the Abdelmassi conversation. If you don't bring him back, Blaze Keita's probably gone from this recruiting class. They have a very tight relationship. So if you're Fred and you're thinking Matt Abdelmassi's got to go, you're between a rock and a hard place, because you could be starting from scratch all over again with this recruiting class if Matt's gone, because he's the relationship builder with all these recruits.
Okay, so let's just stay right there. If he's gone, how many guys do we lose? Do you think? Just guessing, 2, 3
from this recruiting class?
Yeah, from this class.
Denham Dawson's already here, so he's good. I think Ramel Lloyd probably stays.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Blaze Keita, though, is the big one. Nebraska,
right.
we understand not only defensively, they're one of the worst rebounding teams in the world. And Fred doesn't like to go with two bigs. He doesn't like playing. I mean, how many times did you see Eduardo Andre play with Derek Walker at the same time? Almost never. They did it, I think, in the Big Ten tournament. They did it down the stretch when they had a 3-game winning streak. They played it because of foul trouble. They would do it occasionally. But they won't go two bigs. They won't give up offense for defense. And they probably need to look at that. Rebounding, playing better defense, and stop worrying about a three-pointer that they can't make. But those are big decisions. I think Denham Dawson stays. I think that Ramel Lloyd is here. They've got some parts to work with. Derek Walker, I think CJ Wilcher's a good player. They don't have a point guard. Trevor Lakes is probably gone. Lat Mayon, Eduardo Andre, there's some decisions to be made. But the whole key is whether or not you keep Matt Abdelmassi. I think Doc, it's time for Doc to move on.
I think so too. Okay, so let's put a bow on this Nebraska basketball with this.
Okay.
The last few games of the season, obviously, we go on a winning streak. We beat 2 top 25 teams. We beat Penn State in between them. We get to the Big Ten tournament and lay another egg. Do you think that those last few games of success, what did we do differently there, and what do you think Fred has to take from that and take it into next season?
I think Fred was more of a coach in the last part of the season. You even saw it early. I think losing Trey McGowan certainly hurt with the injury the first time around against Ohio State. When he wasn't there, he is such a defensive force. And as good as Bryce is, his brother, on the offensive end, he's not a good defensive player, at least at this stage in his career. Right. And sometimes he takes bad shots. That last game out, I think it was Wisconsin when Bryce didn't play.
Yeah, that's right.
They eliminated some of the bad shots that he would take. Yeah. And sometimes very early in the shot clock. Mm-hmm. Alonzo Verge had his best game. He was the Big Ten Player of the Week against Wisconsin, 26, and I think he had 10 assists in that game. Yeah. He was very good. And sometimes when Nebraska doesn't have those guys, they tend to rely on each other more. And that's what I see other teams in the Big Ten do that Nebraska doesn't always do, is play as a team. You don't always need to take the first available three-pointer 5 seconds into the shot clock. And I thought that when Fred said no, that was good. It was more of a yes for this team. This team played better when he decided to say, no, I'm coaching, and you're not taking these bad shots all the time. Yeah. So that was part of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. You're right about it's a tough one, man, because we got to get some size. We got to be able to rebound in the Big Ten. We've got to be able to rebound in the Big Ten. And to lose an incoming 6'11" guy, that's a tough
He's
one.
The key. I mean, Blaze Keita is the whole key to this entire class. They can't afford to lose him, and therefore, from that aspect, I think you bring Matt Abdelmassi back, Doc leaves, and maybe Armin Gates. I don't know what happens with him. I think Nate Lenzer stays.
I hope so.
But you probably need to make at least 2 changes
within the staff. Yeah. Speaking then of Big Ten basketball, as we kind of look at the Big Ten aspect of this tournament, a lot of people say we got 9 teams. Was it 9 teams from the Big Ten are in this tournament?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you like from the Big Ten? Because here's what I think. I don't know if the Big Ten is a great basketball conference, if maybe it's the best simply on numbers this year, but I don't know if we have a great team.
No.
So tell me give me a team or two that you like, and maybe because I know who I like as a sleeper, maybe, but who do you expect, I guess, would be a better way to phrase it, to have the most success in this tournament?
I like Purdue.
Yeah.
They've got a 7'4" center. I think Purdue is a team that can shoot it. They can handle it. They don't turn the ball over. They don't make a lot of mistakes. Matt Painter is a fantastic coach.
Yes, he is.
Illinois' got some ability there. I think Wisconsin is a little overrated.
I do too. Yeah, I don't like Wisconsin at all.
They shared the Big Ten title with Purdue this year. Matt Davison is a very good player.
Yeah.
But they don't have – they'll probably win a game or two. I'm with you. I don't see a team that's going to make a big run in the NCAA tournament.
No, if I were to pick two of them, I'm with you. I kind of like Purdue. Michigan intrigues me. Because Juwan Howard loves to be the bad guy. We know that.
Well, he's certainly that.
He's good at it.
Yeah.
And I could see this team saying, you know what? Everybody's going to root against us. We're the villains. We're the evil. And I don't think the path is all that unrealistic for Michigan. It would have been smart for me to print off my bracket and bring it down here to my studio when we were doing a show. That would have been good. Yeah. But the other team, Rutgers is sneaky to me. I think Rutgers is going to win a couple games.
They're in a play-in game, right?
Yeah, they're in a play-in game, and they're just that type of team to win a couple, 3 out of their guard play. I don't think it's great, but there's 3 of them, and they're tough, and they rebound, and they will make you nervous. They will play a style that nobody wants to play, and they're really good at it.
Here's a team that won the Big Ten tournament, Iowa.
I know. God, it pains me to just even.
Nobody likes Iowa. I don't think Iowa likes Iowa.
No, they don't. But they hate themselves.
They played much better defense as of late. They can really shoot it. You mentioned Bohannon about to get his Social Security.
Yeah.
There's I worry about Michigan. You like them. I think they've got a tough matchup in Colorado State.
They shouldn't do well. I just have a feeling that Juwan Howard is a big enough of a red ass that he's going to get his team playing like a bunch of red asses, and they're going to come in and do stuff that nobody wants them to do.
Right.
Because even people in Michigan aren't rooting for Michigan after what happened. So I'm more from a sleeper angle. Keep an eye on Michigan. Keep an eye on Rutgers. To me, I think you're right. I think you just hit on it. It's hard for the words to come out of my mouth when we talk about anything Iowa. I think Iowa's the most dangerous team in this tournament from the Big Ten perspective.
Well, they've always been offensively gifted, but they've been playing better defense,
and that's the key.
As of late, they've got the Twins down low.
Yep.
And I just think that's a dangerous basketball team. But that's the great thing about the NCAA tournament. It's so unpredictable, especially first couple weekends in March. Here's my theory. I don't know what your theory is on filling out a bracket. I usually go with the top seeds.
I suck at it.
If you take more than 5 minutes to fill out your bracket, you're wasting your time.
Bingo.
If you're thinking long and hard about your bracket, you're wasting your time.
Don't be that guy.
If it takes you more than 10 minutes, you've screwed up.
Especially
Just start
this
filling
year.
out names. Yeah.
especially this year.
Yeah.
God, there's 20 teams. I don't know. I suck at filling out brackets. I get in all these bracket challenges every year, sometimes in a group of buddies, whatever, and I never do. I never win anything. But I'm with you. The top seeds generally get pretty far.
Yeah.
Find your 12-5 matchups just like everybody always does. But don't overthink it. Yeah, just write down a name. Yeah.
I guarantee you'll walk in, Monday morning after these games are played this week, and it'll be the lady, and I'm not, sexist here. I'm not trying to be sexist here. I probably am. But it'll be the lady that knows nothing about college basketball that picked Gonzaga because she liked the name, or, Sister Jean, and she heard that story about Loyola. That's how you win these tournaments.
They have funny nicknames.
Yeah, you pick a nickname, or you just go with all one seeds, and you tend to be, hey, they're a one seed. They probably are pretty
they should
good.
win everything. Yeah. It's funny too because like we're all fired up to fill out our brackets, right? And by the time next Monday comes around, every one of us, 90% of us, is going to be pissed off. Well, I can't believe this guy beat this guy, and then the interest. And that's why I say it's the first weekend only, because then the interest, I think, for a lot of people starts to go away. The brackets are great, but once yours is busted, how much attention are you really paying to this tournament?
And then you'll get that guy, I'm not doing well in that bracket, but my fifth bracket, I don't even know. You can't have 16 brackets.
No.
And, and it's that guy that carries them with him. He's got his bracket.
He's marked them off with a highlighter.
That's right. And he wants to show you his bracket.
Yes. Yeah. Look what I did here.
I don't want to know anything about your fantasy team, and I don't want to know anything about your stupid brackets.
I'm not engaging with that guy. I swear to God, if you're at a point in your life right now, I'm over 50 years old now. Tom, I know you are too. I swear to God, if you're over 24 years old, and you fill out more than one bracket or maybe two brackets, you need to reevaluate what the hell you're doing. Okay. If you're carrying them around in a damn briefcase, well, wait, look what I did on bracket 12. See, that's what I really was thinking. I got this, and I knew these 5 upsets would happen. Go away.
Yeah, go
away. I'll quit my damn job if I gotta work with you. So, real quick, Tom, I do want to, before we get out of here, I do want to talk about a little bit of the football news over the weekend. But Nebraska women, a team that actually does win some basketball games and actually did make the the tournament. Looks to me like they got screwed a little bit. And I don't think that's me being a Nebraska homer. Do you think the 8th seed was where they belonged?
No, I was like you. I was thinking they're going to be a 6th seed.
I did too.
I thought 7 at worst.
Yeah,
and they go to they're in the Wichita Regional, but if they get by Gonzaga, very good team, 26-6. In fact, the net has Gonzaga ahead of Nebraska. They're an 8th seed. Gonzaga's a 9th seed. I think this is going to be really tough because they've got Louisville. They're going to face Louisville in the second round. Jeff Walls, a former Nebraska assistant, back in the day.
That's right. Yes.
In fact, I think Nebraska wanted to hire him. It went very close to getting him. He picked the better job. But Nebraska's got a good, solid team. They're tough. Yeah. Jazz Shelley and Hybe make a really good guard tandem. You got the freshman of the year in Alexis Wachowski.
Alexis was Big Ten Freshman of the Week like every week, right?
Yeah. That's a really good player they've got. Izzy Bourne is a really good player. They're not a great team, but they beat a top 10 team, Michigan, twice on the year.
Yep. And I thought that alone should have got them out of the 8 line.
Right.
To at least the 7 line. Because they beat them twice.
I think this is the 6th year for Amy Williams, and she's finally breaking through.
Yep.
I believe her second NCAA tournament, 24-8, 11-7 in the league, a very tough league in the Big Ten. This is a good team.
Very respectable.
I'm willing to say that she's a good coach because I had question marks about.
I did too, and I remember you were doing a show on the ticket with Gaskins back when Amy Williams
Yeah.
hired, and John
We had her on.
having some South Dakota ties. He had her on the air, and my biggest question was, look, man, recruiting to Nebraska in the Big Ten is much different than recruiting there. So I had my questions about it too, but I think we can agree she's done an admirable job here.
Yeah.
And who knows? I don't expect, honestly, I don't expect them to win a game, but I think the future is pretty dang bright here, especially with Alexis Markowski.
You talked about Alexis. I think she was going to South Dakota or North
She was.
Dakota, and then decommitted late in the process.
Yep.
And now she's Big Ten freshman of the year.
Think about that difference.
Right.
She was going to go to one of the Dakota directional schools.
Yeah.
And now she's the Big Ten freshman, the freshman of the year, and maybe the toughest conference in all of basketball. Now, women, I don't know if Big Ten's the toughest, but whatever. It's in the top 3, and she's the freshman of the year right here from Pius. Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a very cool story, and of course, her dad played for Nebraska under Danny Nee.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Yeah, Andy Markowski, a solid player, not nearly as good. He was not ever close to being freshman of the year.
No.
In the Big 12.
No.
His daughter is a much better player.
He wasn't freshman of the year on his own team, but he was a solid player.
No, he was a solid player, but she's got a mean streak. I like her game.
Oh, yeah.
She's a fiery person and shoots the 3 extremely well.
Yes.
It gives me hope down the road that this could be a Jazz Shelley, obviously the team leader, the transfer from Oregon. I think Hybe's having a nice year. She's been banged up a little bit injury-wise. But Nebraska's got enough to give, they could beat Gonzaga. And then, of course, they're probably not going to beat Louisville, but they could give them a game.
Sure, they could
definitely give them a game.
And all this was done, too. You have a starter that 3/4 of the way through the season wasn't on the team anymore.
That was such a weird story.
Yeah, it is a weird deal. I don't even want to get into it. Everybody can have their own opinion about it. I think we've all kind of assumed what we think is going on. I'm not going to touch it. But she was a key part of that team, and then she was gone, and they still continued to win. So, kudos to them.
Yeah, I think they actually came together. I think I won't say a lot about it either, but I think it was the players' decision to remove Ashley Scroggins from this team.
I think it was too.
I think they were the ones that said, hey, she's a good player, but we got to move on. And they have really played some of their best basketball toward the end of the year.
Yep, they have. Football over the weekend. I guess I was stunned. I don't know why I was stunned. I just want to touch on this because one of these stories, well, maybe a couple of them, deal with some teams that you and I care very much about. But let's start. First of all, I'm sitting around yesterday. I looked down at my phone and I'm on Twitter and I see all these memes about Tom Brady. And so that lasted 40 some days?
Yes.
And he said, no, this being a dad crap, I need to go play football. Shocking to you at all?
What's shocking is at 45, and nobody's ever started a quarterback in the NFL at the age of 45. Very few at the age of 44. Obviously, he has the 7 rings, which I don't think anybody will ever touch.
No.
I think he left a loser this year, and it was a good game. Probably should have won that game versus.
He should have won that game.
They should have won that game.
Yeah.
But I think it was tough for him, and he's thinking, I've been promising Giselle I'm going to leave this game for a while and spend more time, and then maybe he did spend a month. He said, you know what? My body feels great, and he's taking all those supplements that he's now advertising, and maybe they really do work because you look at his numbers. It's not like Peyton Manning, where he won the championship, but it was obviously over physically for him.
Yeah.
It's not. I think he's as good now or better than I saw him in his 30s.
Oh, I think so.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah. I know he doesn't drink. He gets 8 hours of sleep. He probably is in some sort of cold chamber every day.
Yeah, eating avocado ice cream and every fruit and vegetable he can get a hold of.
Giselle's probably helped him out with some of the, the fitness stuff and the health stuff. He looks better now.
He doesn't look 45 years old. He does not.
He looks like he's maybe 30. I mean, he could seriously. I mean, let's face it. He's had hair implants and he's plastic surgery, and he's anybody who doesn't think there's some sort of conspiracy going on with what he's done with his body, he has. I mean,
all the things that, by the way, everybody listening out there, if you want to start a fund, that all the things I would like to have is some plastic surgery, maybe a little touch up on the hair.
I'll take it.
I don't. Yeah,
if we're going to continue this podcast, we got to do it.
In fact, I think it might be necessary. You might want to start the GoFundMe page now. So if you have to look at us, but yeah, it's incredible. I think maybe there was a little bit of tension between him and Bruce Arians. I don't think they ever totally got along. Oh, I know. Right.
That guy's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he's kind of an a-hole. Yeah. And I think when it ended, Tom was just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this dude anymore. But real quickly, Tom comes back. Do you think Gronk will come back now?
I think Gronk will do anything Tom tells him to do.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's
and
like
I was kind of hoping he'd stay retired, but
I think it's like Johnny Knoxville, telling those guys to do anything he wants on Jack. Hey, jump off a building, and he'll do it.
He'll do it.
Gronk has been smart. He's taken a couple seasons off, and then he decided I'll play in the playoffs. Smart with his money, smart with his body. I think from what
he has been.
He's still the best tight end probably in the NFL.
He's in top 3 when he's healthy. Yeah, I think you're right. First of all, that's an amazing story, really. If you dig into it, Rob Gronkowski, he gives off this impression of kind of being the big dumb meathead football player or whatever. He's very smart with his money. Yeah. He hasn't spent, basically from what I hear, $1 of anything he's earned in the NFL.
Hasn't touched it.
And why not? You know what, Tom? Go ahead and go to training camp. Get these receivers all broke in. I'll see you around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he might just check out. Hey, I'm not playing the first 7 games.
Yeah, why would he?
I'll join you when it really matters, and we'll go win an eighth Super Bowl ring for you. And then you can ride off the sunset, or maybe play till you're 55. Who knows?
I don't doubt that he could. I would not. I'm telling you, from what I've seen now, if Tom Brady took a snap at 50 years old, I will not be stunned. I'm just not going to be. It's crazy. Tom might be the greatest football player to ever play. I think we agree on that. Maybe one of the smartest guys to ever play is a guy that plays for your Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins. My God. I don't even like bringing up the Vikings around him, around you, because some of you behind the scenes, I'll give you a little bit of taste of what's happening here in my life. Because my son Zachary looks up to Tom the way that he does, he decided to become a Vikings fan.
I don't know. If Kirk Cousins signs for another couple of years, I think Zach and I will be out. I told Zach the news yesterday. He just looked at me like I freaking told him that he can't have his Xbox anymore. Think about this. Since 2016, Kirk Cousins will have made $228 million in the NFL. Now, he's not even a top 10 quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Is he not? He's not. He's not.
He's the number one. He's the highest paid player in the NFL. And he is so mediocre. His agent has done his job and then some.
He must have Brett Hoiberg's agent. I don't know. Isn't he? He like literally is the definition of average, right? You were telling me earlier.
Yeah, I don't blame him for I thought he played actually his best season this past year on a very mediocre team, and his head coach got fired and had some parting shots for his quarterback on the way out the door. Kirk Cousins.
Well, I guess I must have missed that.
Yeah, they did not like each other at all. Mike Zimmer thought that he wasn't tough enough.
Well, I think the whole when he said he wasn't going to get the shot, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't going to get. I think that chapped Zimmer's ass.
Yeah.
And maybe it just went downhill from there.
And Zimmer's one of those head coaches that likes to control his offensive coordinator, demands that he run the football. He doesn't like to see a lot of balls in the air. And I don't like defensive coordinators in general, in most cases, that become head coaches. That
I don't
become
either.
that controlling. I think, but I do not blame Kirk Cousins for the past season with the Minnesota Vikings. It was not his fault. He's not a great quarterback. Don't misunderstand me. I would take Aaron Rodgers every day of the week, and who wouldn't?
Well,
he was the MVP again. But it was not Kirk Cousins' fault. But he's also not the answer. He's not going to win you. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He might get you
any hope that now that Mike Zimmer isn't there, you bring in an offensive-minded head coach, who we assume is going to follow some kind of a Sean McVay model, right?
Yep.
Any thought that maybe for the first time in his career, he gets a coach like that and maybe he will, thrive?
Maybe.
He certainly didn't have it in Washington. He was battling with, God, was it Robert Griffin III back then, on a team that didn't want to throw the ball? I don't know. I'm kind of a pseudo Vikings fan because like I said, my son is talking about it all the time. But I don't know. I just think that maybe with an offensive-minded head coach, I think they can certainly make the playoffs.
They should. I mean, Dalvin Cook is certainly one of the best running backs. Not that running backs are that important in the NFL, but Jefferson.
But see, I disagree with that. They are when you have a great one.
Yeah,
they are. When you have a great one, they are important. They can make. But
I think you can. I think they're valuable, certainly valuable. And Cook has been very good. But I think the Cowboys, for example, made a mistake by.
Oh my God! Don't
Zeke's a good running back, but you shouldn't have given him that kind of money.
No, well,
and the Vikings gave Cook a lot of money, and
that's true.
I just think there are other needs on a football team, and you can usually draft a running back in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And usually,
Madison is a good running back.
He's fine. And you could get one of free agency. You could get one of the draft.
Pollard was better for the Cowboys this year than Zeke was. So, you're right.
I think, running backs, there's a value to them. And I love Dalvin Cook. I think he's one of the top 3 running backs in the NFL.
Yeah, I do too.
But, even Tennessee, they had a running who's by far the best running back and he got injured, and you tend to rely on those great ones so much that they get banged up. It's maybe a conversation for another day, but I just think in the NFL, spend your money on your quarterback. If you've got a great one, give him all the money. Give Tom Brady's been a value bargain, been a bargain forever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What he did in New England to make sure that they had, other money for other pieces. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just think you start with, with your defensive backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, pay them all what they're worth. Yeah. Pay them all anything you can get them. But I just think running backs in the league, you can always get one.
Well, we'll see if Kirk Cousins can earn that $500 million or whatever the hell. Good for him. Good for Kirk. Tom, we're getting a little short on time here, but before we get out of here, we are doing a Nebraska Gems. We're transitioning from HuskerNation to Nebraska Gems. So I think it's obligatory that we at least mention that the Nebraska football team went through a week of spring practice.
Right.
We did get some, we got the coaches talked a couple of times and as usual, everything's glorious and we're probably the best team in the country. But was there anything that you did hear from coaches? I'm Kool-Aid drinker number 1. I always have been. I swore I wouldn't be this year. But I've kind of changed my tune a little bit just because I do like the coaching staff changes. I do think for once we're going in a better direction than we were. But anything stand out from you from anything you heard or saw during this first week of spring ball?
Well, I think what we thought was Mickey Joseph is a great hire, and
Yeah.
he's a great hire.
Yes.
I like when I hear, again, and Nebraska, let's face it, Nebraska wins the offseason every single year.
We do.
Did under Bill Callahan and Mike Riley and Bo Pelini, and they have now, but they haven't had the results on the field. What I do like to hear from the head coach, Scott Frost, is, you know what? I'm not over there with the offense all the time. I'm not the offense. He basically was the offensive coordinator of the last 3 years, whether he had the title or not. And now he's handed the car keys to Mark Whipple, and I like that.
I do too.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger. He's proven, Kenny Pickett was a really good football player at Pittsburgh and might be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft.
Let me repeat that for those of you who aren't totally familiar with Mark Whipple and his coaching resume. He won a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. Right. This guy has been around the game at all levels for a long time and has done it at a high level everywhere he's been.
And I guess, and I knew that, and I thought he would be a good offensive coordinator, but it's refreshing to see Scott Frost maybe take a breath and say, you know what, maybe I can go over and talk to the defensive coordinator, Eric Shenander, occasionally. I can talk to Bill Bush and see what's going on with special teams. I can be more of a CEO. I don't have to be in my playbook 24/7 focused on, zone read plays all day long.
You and I have been screaming for that for 2 years, to find an offensive coordinator and let him be the offensive coordinator. And the guy we had before was not. Him and Scott, I know they'd worked together before and they were supposed to be on the same page, but that is not how that worked. And hopefully that's how it's working right now. I do love, man, I love these hype videos, and I love, I love when the coaches say really cool things, but it did stand out to me when Scott talked about Dominic Raiola and the offensive line and how just the simple thing of how they're firing off the ball now.
Donovan Raiola,
Donovan, excuse me. I'm going to do that. We're going to talk. I'm going to keep doing it. Just warn you right now.
I think we both will.
Yeah. But he said, the guys used to look like they were running a 40-yard dash when I played, and now they're starting to look like that again. That is encouraging to me.
Well, that was one of the big things I think that happened the first 3 years. It was Greg Austin and Scott Frost going head to head. And
I think so too.
Here's a problem when you hire your friends, and you've hired me, so you're probably going to have to go through this. You're going to have to hire me. And I don't think Scott
a bribe to get you to come on the podcast is not the same as employment.
There you go. I've not seen a check anyway, and nor will I at any point.
No, but as far as you know, it's in the mail.
That's right. But that's a problem when you bring all your friends. You have to, if they don't succeed, you have to fire them or get fired.
Yeah.
So firing Matt Lubick, who is a close personal friend, he didn't bring him over originally from Central Florida, but they went through a number of changes on that offensive staff, and mostly guys from Central Florida that he had to unleash. Yeah. And Greg Austin and Scott Frost were the biggest ones. That first year you had Devine Ozigbo go for 1,000 yards, but it never looked like Nebraska was really firing off the ball.
No, it never did. It's like
you never saw, even when they got big runs, it never felt like they were blowing open holes. It was usually great runs. Sometimes it was because of scheme. They were able to scheme their way in their runs.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't because they were the more physical team. And hopefully Nebraska becomes a physical football team. How long have we been demanding that? Regardless of the fact that they're going to be a pass-oriented team, we know that. Mark Whipple will throw the ball probably 60% of the time. But maybe that's good. I don't know. We'll see. But the thing I'm really looking forward to, having to replace Cam Jurgens at center, which I think is a big deal, is Can they do that? Because, teams do that all the time. They replace players.
They can.
And they sometimes get better.
Yeah.
Maybe with new coaching, the offensive line, you got Applewhite as the new running backs coach. I think he could be good. I think obviously we love Mickey Joseph, Donovan Raiola, Mark Whipple. I think it was long overdue that you hire some new coaches, and the defense was fine. They weren't great, but the defense was fine last year. The offense was miserable.
They were good. The defense was good enough to win 9 games.
Yeah. And let's face it, the quarterback coach had to go. I mean, if you made one change, the quarterback coach had to go. Mario Verduzco never saw a quarterback that he didn't make regress. They all got worse.
That's right. That's such a good point. Wait, what was the line from off base, or what would you say it is you do here? Because I don't know what he did here.
That's right. What is it you say you do?
What do you say? What is it again?
I'm a people person. I love people.
Yeah. Nobody got better. Nobody got better. So,
and I don't think Adrian was that bad. I was a fan of Adrian Martinez.
No, I am. I was too. Here's the thing. My only thing I don't think Adrian ever elevated himself in big games when the game was close, when it was tight. And I hear people, well, I'm not sure he's a winner. I think he's a winner, but he didn't win. He didn't win. And instead of rising to the moment in big games and in big situations, I felt like he shrunk away from it. And hopefully Casey Thompson doesn't do that.
No, hopefully. I mean, he's got to work or they're gone. I mean, Casey Thompson either works at Nebraska, and not just stats wise. He's got to win. It can't be just like he did at Texas. Hey, you led the Big 12 in passing, but you were 4-6. It can't be. No. You got to win as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the biggest indictment of Mario Verduzco and Scott Frost has been the recruitment, to me, of Luke McCaffrey. Nobody wanted him as a quarterback. Nobody. Ohio State recruited him hard as a wide receiver. And they thought they could make him a quarterback. Yeah. I don't think that would have happened with a Mark Whipple. I don't see how that could have happened with Mark Whipple.
No.
He would have said, that guy is – he went to Rice and was – by the end of the season was a third teamer. Yeah. He's a great athlete, but that's the biggest indictment to me of the Frost era is how did you see that guy as a quarterback? And I went on the air every single day and said, he is not a quarterback.
No,
Don't sell me him.
Did he just want the McCaffrey name here? I don't know. I don't know why the hell anybody ever thought he could be a quarterback. But you're right. It's decisions like that I hope to God are gone. I have a fair amount of confidence that Mark Whipple can look at a kid and go, yeah, that's a guy I can win with.
Man.
And conversely, look at a guy like McCaffrey and say, what the hell were you? No, he's not a quarterback.
No, and that's what great coaches do. They evaluate talent. They're not dumb enough. I mean, Bill Belichick's the greatest coach in the history of football. I think he knew that when he lost Tom Brady, they were going to take not one step back, but probably 5. Now, they've made a nice little comeback this year, and they maybe got their quarterback of the future. I think Matt Jones is fine. I mean, he's fine. But he's not Tom Brady, but you have to have talent. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. If you can't see talent, develop talent, you're in big trouble. But you also have to put guys at the right position. And Luke McCaffrey was not a quarterback. He was never a quarterback. Yep. And it's a shame that they didn't convince him to be a wide receiver because I thought he would have been a really good one, or maybe even a running back.
Yeah, I think so. And I guess I just my biggest hope is that, now that we have some veteran guys in some key positions as coaches, I know that the Nebraska fans I talk to, Tom, that the development of players is probably one of the things that top 3 things that come out of their mouths is that
it has to be.
They don't feel like anybody has really ever developed here, and it's got to change.
Nebraska, even under Tom Osborne, didn't recruit at the same level that Barry Switzer did at Oklahoma.
Right.
In most cases, now that 95 team had a lot of talent, but a lot of it was developed. You've got to be able to be more like Iowa. I mean, you're in the West. Maybe that changes very soon in the Big Ten, and they just lump them all together. But you're not going to recruit with Michigan. You're not going to recruit with Ohio State, probably not even Penn State consistently. You've got to see guys with potential, get them in the weight room, and develop. Even with name, image, and likeness, where I've seen it projected with quarterbacks, 5-star quarterbacks making $8 million during their career.
Oh,
You've got to be able to see guys, and maybe those guys end up making that, but you've got to see something that maybe nobody else did and develop it like crazy, especially when you're talking about the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line. That's where Nebraska was built. That's where they've made their hay. And if Nebraska's ever going to be good again, they've got to be good in the trenches. That's why I think Donovan Raiola might have been even more important than Whipple. If he's the real deal, you got a chance. If he's not, you're done.
Yep. I totally agree. Tom, wonderful stuff. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to do this. And again, I want to remind everybody that's tuning into this thing. Tom and I are going to keep doing this. We're probably going to do it under a little bit different format. We're going to move into what we call the Nebraska Gems and try and bring you some interesting people, some interesting stories, whether it be in the world of sports or not. Just interesting people that we think you'd like to hear their stories from the state of Nebraska. But Tom and I have known each other a lot of years. We worked together back at the broadcast house in the day when Sports Nightly was still generated from that building on 44th and O Street in Lincoln. But Tom and I have never really actually gotten to do a show together. I love this very, very much. I can't wait to do another one. And thank you for agreeing to be part of this. I'm excited, looking forward to it. And we'll decide what we're going to do for our next episode. And we'll let everybody know. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I always forget this part. Please make sure, if you like what you heard here, that you hit the like button there down below. And then also, if you hit the subscribe button, this is going to be on several different podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all the places where you get your podcasts. It's a big deal to us if you hit the subscribe button. That way we know that people are listening and give a damn about what we're saying. So please please subscribe. And if you leave a 4 or 5 star rating, we wouldn't hate you for that either. We're going to do this again really, really soon. Tom, wonderful job, of course. And everybody listening, thank you. Thank you very much. And we will talk to you here very, very soon on the Nebraska Gems / Husker Nation podcast. Take care, everybody.